What is going on, garden fans? Welcome back to the Permaculture Homestead. In today's video, we are going out to Locklairs, the project farm in Gaston, South Carolina, where I'm going to do a little longer video, a little more detail, only because I'm doing one video a month from there. If you're not already, hit the subscribe button, tap the notification bell, and go ahead and slap like right now. It helps boost this video and boost our channel. We appreciate y'all's support as always. God bless. I am out at the permaculture project site at Locklairs Farm in Gaston, South Carolina, and I want to go ahead and give you a way too early spring update, kind of dive in depth on a couple things. Starting here at the bottom of the hill, I want to talk about our Woodcore vegetable mandala garden. It looks a little bit eroded right now. Back in the spring, it looked something like this. And now you can see that a lot of the soil has eroded away from the heavy rains we've had. It's starting to expose some of the wood core on our hugel mounds here. So some of the maintenance we have to do this spring, early spring, is recomposting this wood core and getting them ready for the spring. Look at all that life in there. Roaches, we got pill bugs, we got all types of life living on this wood core, breaking it down, making the nutrients in the wood core bioavailable to the plants. Now, this wood core swales are super awesome. Just to talk about them a little bit, the wood has really done a great job absorbing water. It's like a sponge. All the tiny pores in the wood absorbs water. The wood core becomes a sponge, and the roots of our vegetables start to reach for the wood core and grow into the wood core to get that water source. So hugel mounds, certainly workable in practice and in principle, and we've been having really good luck growing vegetables in our wood core swale mounds here the past year. Now, once again, we got to do quite a bit of work to get all this wood core covered back up. So lots of composting has been done, and what we're going to do is just recompost these mounds, and we'll be planting them in spring. At this particular moment, garden fans, there is not a whole lot of things going on because we're still a little bit chilly here in the south. We're getting blueberries that are starting to flower for us and bud up. So we have a giant blueberry patch down here at the bottom of the hill. Lots of blueberries that run along the length of this swale here. And the overstory is mayhaws, and we have a couple variety of mayhaws here. And the mayhaws are starting to bud out and flower out. Probably a little too early at this point in the year. So we've got this big polyculture swale patty here. We've got mayhaws, we've got blueberries, we've got asparagus as an understory, and further on down this swale patty, we have elderberry and blackberry growing. Here we start to pepper in some of the blackberry. Here's a blackberry, and what we've been doing is doing a lot of wood. We've been tip layering our blackberries up here to help them spread. So all over the place you can see where we've got our blackberries just dug right back into the ground, and what they're doing is gonna propagate. So we're basically propagating on site. Here is a nice hedge of elderberry. Elderberry is one of my favorite plants to grow. Super medicinal, super good for you. Probably need to prune this one down a bit, but at this point in the early spring, the elderberry is starting to leaf out just a little bit. Now they should be able to tolerate a late frost if we get one. Some other things at the bottom of the hill that are still in dormancy are figs. And we have figs rolling along this swale mound. They're on the mound. The figs are sitting on the mound. So we've got quite a few different variety of figs growing down this mound. On the downhill side of this mound, we have a hedge of Elaeagnus umbellata autumn olive. And that hedge of autumn olive is acting as a wind break and a shade break for pawpaws, which are still dormant right now. And currently we have 1, 2, 3, we got 4, 5 pawpaws growing down here, with more coming along the way. I'm gonna be rooting up or pulling up some pawpaws at my home and bringing them here to help spread the diversity. So we've got nitrogen fixation for these pawpaws, and during the hottest part of the year, these shrubs are providing some shade for them in their early life. Eventually, the pawpaws will be the overstory tree, and these little tiny shrubs will be underneath them, supplying them with nitrogen fixation. Once again, lots of blueberries. They are budding out. I do love to see the blueberry bells coming out. So we certainly expect to have blueberries this year. Moving on up the hill, another swale. Here's another swale mound, and then here's another swale patty. And the patty up here is a little more diverse than at the bottom of the hill. We have things like jujube, which are still dormant. We have pomegranate, which are still dormant. We have a dead apricot tree that we're chopping down, taking out, and going to replace with something else this year. Also on this swale patty, there are blackberries. More blackberries here, and that we're also tip layering to help spread that. We have 2 plum trees. These are Ozark plums. No, I lied. These are local native variety plums. And I don't remember the variety at this point in time. I have it written down somewhere. But plums, we got plums. And then also down this swale we have more elderberry and blackberry as an understory. Next, swale patty up. Just gonna keep moving along because here again, everything's kind of dormant. There's not a whole lot going on. The swale patties further up the hill start getting larger. So further on down the hill, they're a little bit tighter, closer together. Now we're getting into bigger patties, we're getting into bigger trees and more variety of species, especially nut trees. So there are jujubes. Here's a jujube. There's a jujube. Everywhere a jujube. Jujube is great here for Zone 8 South Carolina. Please keep in touch. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that like button and you will see more jujube growing. I have sea berry here. This sea berry is coming back to life. So I was able to plant some sea berry, and this is a male sea berry. There are female sea berry also around here, which I hope to find. But I am doing my best to spread sea berry as the nitrogen fixing understory for all of these major overstory trees. Here is another jujube. It has a companion right underneath it. This is goji berry. So the goji berry are starting to leaf out, and you can plant just this close. Goji berry does not mind being right on top of jujube, and jujube does not mind having that companion there with it. Some other plants up here. We have pineapple guava, 2 shrubs of pineapple guava, which will be flowering here shortly. They're doing a great job spreading out, getting bigger, getting bushy, and I expect these 2 to just kind of bush out and shrub up a bit. The next tree down the line, this is a cherry tree. It's starting to bud out. 1 cherry tree. Here is another goji berry. Here is more sea berry. Is this sea berry still alive? Not sure. We have planted out 40 or 50 sea berry out here, garden fans. So I'm not sure which ones are still alive and which ones may not be alive. Here is another sea berry. Doesn't look like much is going on right now. It's still a little too early in the season to tell though. Another sea berry right here. I know that some are living and some are dead. That's how it goes. That's kind of why we planted out 40 of them. Nut trees. Now we're going to start getting into the nut trees. This is a pecan tree, and it looks like it is still alive and maybe wanting to bud out a little bit. Early spring is here. Another blackberry right next to it that needs to get tip layered. That's one of the spring duties that we're doing out here every weekend. More pineapple guava. Pineapple guava. This is a persimmon. Persimmon, same story. Looking good and wanting to start to bud out. Spring is here. And then on down the line, the major dominant understory is blackberry. We have tons and tons and tons of blackberry out here because blackberry is just a great grower for Zone 8 South Carolina. Here is a nice little polyculture, a mixing of plants. Okay, the central focus is going to be this mulberry tree here. Really tall mulberry. Right next to it, we've got this autumn olive as nitrogen fixation. And I do prune these autumn olive. I don't let them get much higher than 5 or 6 feet tall. They're going to remain as shrubs around my trees. Every time I chop and drop them, we get a little more nitrogen to the tree. The understory is once again blackberry. Tons of blackberry around it. So here in just a small 6 by 6 circle, we've got 3 plants growing, 3 edible sources of food for us. I'm gonna keep walking down this swale patty. Here's a plum tree. This is definitely an Ozark plum, not a native grower. It's wanting to bud out. More blackberry patches. Tons and tons of blackberry. Here is another goomy berry. You can see where I've been chopping and dropping this thing, trying to keep it all the same level. This is an all-in-one almond tree that has a flower on it. Interesting. So almonds are most closely related to peaches, if you didn't know. All-in-one almond tree. It's got a couple different grafts on it. Right behind it is another plum tree. That here again is wanting to bud out and leaf out. It's getting there. Yes, we have blackberry as a dominant undercrop species, but we also have a ground cover of alpine strawberries. And there are tons and tons of alpine strawberries here spreading as a ground cover. I'm not doing much weeding. We don't do any weeding here. We try to let the plants do the job of weeding. So because we've got this dominant ground cover, we don't have a whole bunch of grass in the area. The strawberry is doing a great job suppressing the grass. I'm gonna move on up. We got one more swale patty to look at. Here we go. Here's another swale mound. Things growing on the mound include elderberry, and I'm growing elderberry on the mounds up here to help solidify them into the landscape as an element. When I chop them, I drop them right underneath, and I'm trying to build up the swale mound here. So lots of chopping and dropping on the swale patty. Once again, it's a very large patty, probably 25 feet, and we have more nuts and fruits up here. A huge variety of fruit and nuts. This is a pear, Asian pear growing. You can see it's wanting to leaf out some. Hadn't quite flowered yet. Pomegranate right here, doing not a whole lot right now. Here's another pecan tree. Same story, budding out. Its nitrogen fixing shrub next to it has already been chopped and dropped. And you can put plants this close together. They don't mind. Okay, eventually that nut tree is going to get 80, 90 feet tall, and around it there's going to be these fruit trees. We have a plum right here, we have a mulberry right there, and then like I just showed you a second ago, we got this pear right here. So on a larger scale, the centralized tree is going to be the nut tree. It's going to have its nitrogen fixation right under it, and then a bunch of surrounding fruit trees that aren't going to get in the canopy space. Mulberry right here looks good. It's been pruned up. It's wanting to start to bud. Tons of variety up here. Once again, next nut tree over, we've got a Chinese chestnut. This Chinese chestnut, it's blown up the past 2 years. It also, of course, has some nitrogen fixation in the form of autumn olive, which has been chopped and dropped. This is another persimmon. We have hazelnuts, 2 hazelnut shrubs. Here's one hazelnut shrub. There's another right there. And then another grouping of hazelnuts not too far away, 10, 15 feet away. And they also are budding, wanting to blow out for spring. This one is already starting to throw out some catkins. These are the pollinate. This is the pollen source. So these guys are getting ready. We should have some hazelnuts next year, just like we did this year. And I'm gonna just back up here, garden fans, kind of give you a broad look at the whole food forest. As we looking down the hill now, I'm at the top of the hill looking down. It is a pretty vast project on a hillside. Less than an acre, maybe half an acre, maybe even just a quarter of an acre. But the amount of diversity we got here is large. Lots and lots of different things growing. And please keep in touch. Once again, if you're not already, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us grow and keep in touch, because this place is going to look extremely different in just 3 months. Appreciate you all watching as always. God bless.